Alex Eala. She's hilarious. Yep. It's amazing. I told her that. I was like, dude, I'm so excited for this doubles because I'm about to have like the most support I've ever had.
She's much more experienced than I am. I don't think it was an easy win for her, so it's very difficult.
It's really challenging. Over the course of more than a century of tennis, champions have been crowned and legends broken on the red clay of Roland Garros. However, Court Philippe Chatrier saw something the French Open had never fully experienced on that May afternoon in Paris.
I love the Filipino fans too, and I feel a little bit adopted when I play doubles with her.
20-year-old Alex Eala, ranked 38th in the world and seated nowhere on the draw sheet, had just left that court after doing what no one outside the Philippines truly thought she would do on this day. The roar of a nation arriving all at once, Filipino flags, Filipino voices, an ocean away from Manila, and they were everywhere. She had just defeated Jovic, the 17th-ranked player who Novak Djokovic had considered as a potential world number one. The score will go down in Philippine sports history, but the tale of how it happened and why every tennis player should have predicted it begins 4 days earlier in a city 400 miles away, when Alex Eala was briefly written off by the world. The headlines were unfavorable 72 hours prior to that game. Eala had just lost in Strasbourg, her last clay warm-up and her last opportunity to get to Paris ahead of schedule. She had given away a first-set lead that she ought to have converted when she left that court. Perhaps the most disappointing outcome of her clay swing, according to one site. Her second main draw at the French Open was this one. Her first, in 2025, ended in a first-round defeat at the hands of Emiliana Arango, a match she fervently wished to forget. And now, after 4 days of practice, quiet, and preparation, the draw had given her the one name that no ranking model, pundit, or algorithm suggested she should defeat. Before this match began, the tennis community made the following decisions. Without a doubt, Jovic prevails. On paper, the reasoning made perfect sense. Jovic has just achieved her best performance to date. In January 2026, she advanced to the quarterfinals of the Australian Open, where she dominated the draw until Aryna Sabalenka won in straight sets. She had momentum, Charleston, and the support of Novak Djokovic, the most accomplished player in this sport's history, who had personally observed her games, evaluated her style of play, and declared to the world, "This player will be number one." After examining Eala's side of the draw, TennisHead.net stated unequivocally that it had not been kind to her. The surface came next. Roland Garros, red clay. Just a few years ago, Jovic acknowledged that she hardly knew how to handle the slowest, heaviest, and most grueling variation of a terrain. Nevertheless, she came to Paris as a seed, the favorite, and the selected one despite this apparent weakness. Eala showed up as the barrier that needed to be removed. The first error in the contest was that framing. 2 days before to the first ball being struck at Roland Garros, on May 22, 2026, Filipino supporters had already arrived at the court for a practice session rather than a contest. Every clean winner Eala hit during the warm-up was captured on camera by BSCBN Sports, with spectators crammed into the seats and voices rising. This was a Tuesday morning on a practice court in Paris, not a competition day, and the Philippines had already won. This kind of crowd behavior was witnessed by tournament staff from Eala's fanbase during the Australian Open, when Tennis Channel broadcast a special piece on how her supporters occupied Court 6. They had witnessed an entire arena vibrate during a match in Abu Dhabi. They had witnessed it at Indian Wells, where she was formally referred to as the face of the Philippines by the BNP Paribas Open. When Eala and Jovic stepped out onto Felipe Chatrier on match day, the crowd had become an extension of her game rather than an impartial spectator. Now imagine yourself in Jovic's shoes going into this match. In the world, you are rated 17th. After your matches, Novak Djokovic will personally study the footage and call you with analysis. Just 4 months ago, you advanced to a Grand Slam quarterfinal. Now, you are facing a player who spent her early years training at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain on this exact surface, in this exact culture of grinding clay tennis, on clay that you have spent years learning to even slide on. The world tennis infrastructure had been constructing the Jovic narrative for the past 2 years, and while all of it suggested that she would win this match, none of it took into consideration the conditions under their feet. Jovic had an 8-win, 6-loss WTA clay record going into Roland Garros 2026. 28 wins and 15 defeats is her hardcourt record. The difference between those two figures is not coincidental. It is based on a biography. Her own statements at the beginning of the season told it all. I had absolutely no idea how to slide. I had no knowledge of it. She gained momentum from Charleston's green clay. However, green clay is more like hardcourt tennis in terms of speed and difficulty. A separate civilization is represented by Paris red clay. Elena Rybakina defeated her 6-3-6-3 without taking a set in the second round of her Roland Garros 25 debut. As a seeded competitor in this competition, she has never prevailed in a singles match. According to The Buzz, Jovic was prepared. A different response was waiting in Roland Garros crimson clay. Eala started composing her own response in Rome, a few weeks before Paris. She defeated Wang Xinyu 6-4 in a performance rappler known as a breakthrough clay victory after defeating Magdalena Fresh in straight sets. After that, she faced world number 2 Elena Rybakina on the court and lost 6-4, 6-4 in a match that demonstrated closeness. She was competitive against the world's second-best clay player. She was not outclassed. Eala demonstrated that she belonged on this surface at this level from Monday through Sunday of that week in Rome. The detail, no covering that was correctly centered, came next. In 2026, Eala and Jovic participated in 2 doubles matches together. They advanced to the semifinals after defeating Venus Williams and Alina Svitolina in Auckland. Once more, Indian Wells as partners. You can't play doubles with someone you don't know how they handle pressure, how they build a point from the baseline, where their second serve is located, and how they respond to long rallies. Eala had not merely observed Jovic from a distance. None of the pre-match analysis took into account the fact that she had watched everything while standing side by side at the same net. You anticipated what was about to happen. Those who had followed Alex Eala throughout the season, from Abu Dhabi to Indian Wells to Rome, were already aware that this outcome was shocking. It was the coming. In hindsight, one of the quotes seems prophetic. Eva Jovic, supported by Djokovic and rated 17th in the world in 2026, while sitting at Roland Garros for the first time in her career, she spoke with Tennis Channel about her experience playing doubles with Alex Eala at the Miami Open. She did not discuss rankings, tactics, or clay. I told her that I was like Alex Eala, she stated. It's incredible, I know. I mentioned that to her. I thought, dude, I love the Filipino fans too, so I'm so excited for this doubles. I'm going to have the greatest support I've ever had for a tennis match, which is why I'm so eager for this doubles match. I love the Filipino fans as well, and when I play doubles with her, I feel a little adopted, even though I know they're there for her. Go back and read that. The player who had been selected by every tennis media outlet to win this match, who had a Grand Slam quarterfinal on her resume, and who had Novak Djokovic personally reviewing her film, was telling the world that she had never experienced a support following like Alex Eala's. She was interested in borrowing it. It made her feel taken in. Months prior to their matchup at Roland Garros, Eva Jovic, the opponent, made the statement, not a pundit or a Filipino sports publication. Those fans could not be borrowed on the day of the game. They belonged to a single player, and no ranking system had ever been able to quantify the weight of Philippe Chatrier's voice, which was filled with voices that had traveled across oceans to be there. That May 2026 Roland Garros event was more than just a Grand Slam draw in the first round. It was a pivotal moment in the development of tennis champions. A few countries served as the foundation for the WTA Tour. The draw sheet maps from the previous 50 years resemble a conventional tennis power geography lesson. Russia, the Czech Republic, Spain, Germany, Australia, and the United States. Southeast Asia lacked a legacy infrastructure, a Grand Slam tradition, and a WTA 1000 host. Manila was never considered when the sport was created. The WTA's organizers are now compelled to acknowledge Alex Eala's run at Roland Garros 2026, which began with this victory over the 17th seed. The next generation of tennis enthusiasts and champions is not coming from the anticipated directions. Emma Navarro or Janice Chien in round 2, Naomi Osaka as a possible opponent in round 3, and Arina Sabalenka lurking in round 4 are the draw ahead of Eala after Jovic. Every match tells a bigger tale. Every game is a new chapter in a story that the sport did not write but is now unable to ignore. The grass court season begins after Paris. Eala is definitely on the entry list for Birmingham, which will reward her flat, fast-hitting style of play throughout the year. The results at Roland Garros 2026 will be reflected in the rankings. Eala returns to or surpasses her career high of number 29 with a deep run. Every one on Philippe Chatrier is a point earned by a nation that has been told for decades, both overtly and covertly, that this level was not intended for them. Eala won the opening set 6-3 on May 18, 2026, 4 days before Paris in Strasbourg. After she had Olenikova where she wanted her, the second set tightened to 5-7, and before she could reset, the third set was lost 3-6. The headline, Alex Eala crashes out early at the Strasbourg Open, appeared on ESPN. Her last warm-up before Roland Garros resulted in a collapse that she was unable to attribute to a combination of good fortune and terrible luck. The tennis head net did not make it softer. You can tell everything by what she did next. She stayed in Paris. 4 days later, on May 22nd, she was working through practice on Court 4 at Roland Garros while Filipino supporters crowded every available seat surrounding her. She had not altered her preparation or vanished. She stated, "I'm finding my footing and I know that I can do well," in her pre-tournament statement that was posted on the Roland Garros official website. "My squad and I have been working really hard, and I am a much better player both intellectually and physically than I was last year. Additionally, I'm hoping that the things we've been working on will improve my game." She didn't say she had all the answers. She didn't guarantee an outcome. She claimed to be at work. She claimed to have improved. She then demonstrated both points simultaneously as she entered the world's most renowned clay court. Before the tournament started, the spectators were on Court 4. This is the beginning of the story. Iva Jovic expressed her desire to borrow such support to the world. The irony resides there. 4 days after her exit was described as a collision in a Strasbourg headline, Eala entered Philippe Chatrier. The character was verified there. This outcome was not an accident for Alex Eala. She constructed it over every clay court she used for training in Spain, every match she played in Rome, and every doubles court match she witnessed with the very opponent she would have to defeat. The world of tennis gave her the most difficult opening draw and the most obvious story about the winner. She entered that court and responded to both. When a country finally has a tennis player that belongs at every table and refuses to just sit quietly, it looks like this. There was little chance for the Filipino deluge of Paris. They arrived because they were already aware. The remainder of the draw now owns the question. Can Alex Eala advance further via Osaka, Navarro, and Sabalenka at Roland Garros 2026? Or does this part of the mountain get too steep? Now, leave your prediction in the comments. To what extent does she go? We are covering every match Eala plays at Roland Garros going forward, including the double subplot with Jovic, the possible matchup with Osaka, and the rankings chase back toward number 29 and beyond.